Welcome back to the channel, guys. So the day has finally come. I finally got a... Whoa. Pass me. Hold on a second. I gotta explain to all you guys the backstory behind this beast. Early September was the time I bid on this beast. Now, I was in a bidding war between me and another dude from Michigan. Don't know who he was. He must have really wanted the bike. But we were going back and forth. And we finally got to around... I have a little friend joining me. His name's Pipsqueak. He's a mouse. He wants to say hi. Oh, goodbye. So me and this guy were in a bidding war, going back and forth, and we got up to around $2,700. And then all of a sudden, I kid you not, the mouse on my keyboard was not working and I could not click the bid button. So he ended up winning the auction for the bike at around $2,700. Well, a few days later, I get an email saying that the bike is back up for sale. The ironic part about it all was the email literally said, "Here's your second chance," which I thought was pretty funny. Before this, I was planning ahead. I had everything set out, ready to get this bike. I was set on getting this bike. I had all my ducks in a row, and then I was completely crushed that I couldn't even finish the auction because the computer messed up on me. As you guys probably already know, I got the bike, won it, and had it delivered to my house because I was not able to go to the location and actually pick it up. For some reason, they had some COVID issues there, so I couldn't bring the bike back to my house, which I really enjoy doing. Going to the auction places and picking up the vehicle or the bike is always the highlight of my trip whenever I'm working on these vehicles and bikes. I always try to pick up the bike or the vehicle myself because it's just an unbeatable experience that is unmatched with anything else. And here are all 9 photos from the listing itself. As you can see, the main damage is in the front right of this. But now let's go back to the past and show you guys how excited I was when this beast arrived. I got a Ducati Panigale. It's showing up here in a few minutes. I got a spot in the garage open for it. The bike and the car is moved out of the way, as well as the parts. I even have some parts outside. Cannot wait. It's showing up really soon. Stay tuned.
I didn't have your body.
Bike is finally in the garage. I am super excited that it is finally in the garage and safely off the trailer. So the lady who delivered it told me that her driver, who was supposed to actually bring the bike to me with the other cars that they were transporting, actually had to bail on her last second. So she's the owner of that company that dropped off my bike, she ended up delivering this bike by herself, as well as those cars that you guys saw. She's going to be delivering those as well. So she did this all by herself. So huge shout out to her for doing that. So we finally got the bike in the garage. As you can see, the main impact is the rim. It got hit directly from this side and a little bit on the edge over there. But just check out this rim. This is what the tire was sitting on, and look at that, it is just demolished. Right here you can see the rotor is absolutely demolished as well, and this is what's left of the wheel right here. This is the inner side of the wheel. This is where it all connects to on here. As you can tell, this bike absolutely got destroyed. I don't know who was riding it or what happened, but the bad thing about this bike is that it did not come with any keys. So I cannot unlock the bike on the ignition here, and I cannot open this back compartment as there is a keyhole underneath this rear fairing right here. So my first plan is to get a new ignition and a new set of keys for this bike so I can actually open up some stuff, open up the gas cap. When I was moving it, I could feel a lot of gas in here, so it probably has at least half, excuse me. So it probably has at least half a tank. Right off the bat, I can already tell that the person who had this had aftermarket handlebar stuff right here. I do not know what these are called, but these are not factory at all. Super nice, adjustable on both sides. This is the brake. This is the clutch right here, aftermarket. As you can see, this is the headlight assembly, which just got absolutely destroyed. I'm gonna try to save all these wires and get this body harness off of here so I can save those for the new piece when it comes in. Another thing over here, just from looking at it, is right here. This is the shift lever. The impact demolished this thing and bent it up. I can still shift it down and up, so that's a good thing, but that is going to be a #1 priority as well. A few other things I noticed just here and there was right here, there's a big dent in the radiator. I don't know if there's coolant still in the system or not, or if this is leaky at all, but this might need to be replaced. I'm not sure yet. But besides all that stuff that is very high priority for me, I'm gonna need to get this thing rolling around so I can actually move it around the garage, as I have 2 other projects that I'm still working on. First plan of action, I know I said that multiple times, but first plan of action is to get this thing rolling around. So a new wheel, get a new rim, new tires, so just a whole new wheel assembly, get a new rotor, get the brakes off, bleed the brake lines, get everything done up front so I can finally move this thing around. And then I'm gonna be taking off all the fairings, everything that is damaged on this bike, and I'm gonna start working on the internals. As you can see, this frame up here is completely cracked off. This, which connects the shocks together, is completely cracked in half. So I've got a lot of work on my hands, but I cannot wait to dive into this Ducati Panigale. Now, I did not mention before, but this is actually a 2014 Ducati Panigale 1199. I believe the displacement on this is this number right here. So this is how much CC it has. Now, I've heard these bikes are extremely fast and a lot of fun to ride, so I cannot wait to get on this thing. I am a huge fan of the red color on this bike. It is absolutely gorgeous. I really have been considering getting some new fairings for this bike, maybe some white or some Nardo gray. I think that would look super clean, but this red, man, I just really love this red. And now for my signature touch to Caleb's garage is putting the lot number on the lot number wall. cut this shaft because I didn't think it would slide out. I thought this part only slid out on one side and not back through. Kind of bird brain move of me. I was cutting this and then all of a sudden it started to slide out. So took the whole piece off. So originally this shaft is actually able to slide through all of this, the rotors and the wheel assembly. But if you look closely in there, it's actually bent. The whole tube is bent, which is why this stuff is not wanting to slide off of this whole wheel assembly. And all of it's junk. Unfortunately, this is cracked, this is bent, this rotor and this assembly is bent. So I'm gonna need to get a whole new assembly for the front. So thankful we got it off, and we got the tire and the other bad rotor off. Right here we have the calipers all bagged up. I got the bolts and the washers on there, so hopefully I don't lose any of that. Just hanging on the handlebars as of now. Now, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do next, but as you can see, the motor on this thing might be bad. Now, I looked underneath here. Right down here, there is a pretty significant crack in the head right here, and there's some oil coming out of there. As you can see, there's the oil. And this, I believe, is a gasket that has broken as well. So I'm gonna need to further investigate all this, but we may be doing some motor work on this bad boy. Previously, when the bike was just sitting in the garage for a few months, all this oil right here has collected where the bike was sitting. And I noticed that when I moved the bike over to this position yesterday. I have just a jack and a towel underneath the bottom part of the engine where the oil pan is, just as a jacking point, so I'm able to access the front over here. This bike is so well balanced that when I put the jack underneath the oil pan right here, it actually was like a teeter-totter, and it was perfectly level, and it was actually sitting up completely with just the jack underneath the middle. So I took a cinder block, put a bungee strap, and put this wheel down, so there's a lot more force on the back side, so the front side I can work on very easily. I got a pretty big mess on the ground here, but before I clean any of that up, I'm gonna hop on the front and the shocks on this bike and start taking all this broken plastic off, get everything exposed so I can get down to the bad motor on this bad boy. Check this out. You see where this ignition is pointing? It's either pointing at ignition on or lock. Now, this could be a bad sign because right now, as you can see, I can freely move the handlebars. It's not in a locked position. So the only other scenario would having this on ignition, which means that the bike may have been running after the bike was completely smashed. So that could mean bad news for the engine. So I just saw that. I hope it's not bad news for the engine. That is pretty significant as it is on the ignition, not on the lock, because the handlebars are still able to be moved. Interesting part, this is the intake for the actual bike. Back there is the air filter for the intake for the bike. Originally on the CBR right over there, the intake actually just goes around the fairings and right up into the bike. But on this, it actually runs through the frame piece up through and into the bike like this. So I've never seen this design before, so that's pretty cool. Guys, check this out. Right in here, it's actually cracked. So I'm not sure what happened, but also right here, this bolt that runs through here was stripped and broken. So I'm not sure what was going on here. This is pretty far away from the impact, but maybe all the force coming up here broke this bolt and cracked this piece right here. I've got a lot of pieces off this Ducati, but I'm gonna keep working on this front end, getting these shocks off, getting all the components that are broken, and then getting all the broken plastic pieces around the radiators, as both of them were pretty badly crushed, and seeing the extent of the damage on the block, engine block itself. This bike is actually not on a frame. It does not have a frame like my CBR. Like over here, you see this frame that runs along and connects the back control arm to the rest of the body. Well, on Ducatis, and specifically this one, the engine is actually the supporting frame. So as you can see, there is no supporting frame structure piece. This is all plastics. The engine is what holds up all of the tank, all this extra modules, the radiators, battery, everything. Right here, the shock is actually connected to the engine and connected to the control arm in the back, the swing arm. So I thought that was pretty cool. Wanted to share that with you guys. Also, I believe the horsepower on this puppy is 198, which is unbelievable. Love that number. Joe, guess what modes this thing has?
Racing.
And?
Street.
And?
I don't know.
So it's got a track, it's got a race, and it's got a comfort mode. So all three modes, and it has wheelie prevention. So if you give it a ton of gas, it will keep the bike down low and not flip the bike up if you rev it, if you flip the throttle too hard. So I thought that was pretty sweet too. I'm super excited to get working on this Ducati, but you guys are gonna have to catch me in the next video. See ya.